Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another commentary. And today's game is very particular for me. Mainly because, yes, I am a Castlevania fan. Thank you for asking. I really like the series. It's Super Castlevania 4. So this one is very interesting because I've known about this game for years. But it took me till, 2018 to finally play it? Yeah, on the Wii U Virtual Console. But first, we have a plot summary. Ooh. Also, I really like this song that plays in the background. I'll get to my retrospective on the series in a second, but I think it is somewhat important to talk about the intro and comment on it. Oh look, it's a bat! He's getting out! Whee! Fly away, bat, fly away. Every 100 years, the forces of good mysteriously start to weaken. Oh god. Thus, the power of Dracula starts to revive itself. His power grows stronger and stronger every 100 years. It does? But this is one of the easier Dracula battles. That and Run of Blood, which takes place after this game, so I don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Dracula has revived many times, yes. However, his sinister actions have been constantly thwarted by the Belmont family. That's also true, all the way back since Leon Belmont defeated the first Dracula. Was that the first Dracula? I've never played Lament of Vincent. Anyway, it's been 100 years since the last confrontation between Dracula and the Belmont family. But now, the serenity of Transylvania is being thwarted, by destructive forces. I guess. I mean, if it's being threatened by what? By peaceful forces? On a dark and eerie night, it was a dark and stormy night, Dracula rose from his grave to unleash his destructive power over to the countryside. Oh, thank God it did not reach the cities, just the countryside. Once again, Simon Belmont is called upon to destroy Dracula. Wait, what? With his whip and courage, he sets out to restore peace to Transylvania. Wait a minute, once again Simon Belmont? But no, Dracula only revives every 100 years. This doesn't make any sense. Like, Simon Belmont would not live past 100 years, especially back in the 17th century. So, yeah, here's the biggest thing about Castlevania 4. Its Japanese title is simply Hakumajo Dracula, which means Demon Castle Dracula, which is the same Japanese title as the first game. So what this is not exactly a sequel. It's a reimagining of the original game with brand new levels. It may have some callbacks to the original one, but what this basically is pretty much a reimagining before all the popular reimaginings that we see nowadays, like stuff like Final Fantasy VII Remake or Metroid Samus Returns. Very interesting. All because the director of this game, Masahiro Ueno, wanted to create a game that was more accessible, but still had the same kind of structure as the original Castlevania game, because he admired that one so much. And so we begin Super Castlevania 4. And I love moonwalking upstairs. I don't know why. I love that you can do that. Might as well say my retrospective on the series now that we're here. Okay, so I've known about Castlevania since I was very young. I remember back during my PS3 days, when I got my PS3 in 2009, and shortly thereafter I got my account, which by the way was actually how I got my name, Rhino Dino. I remember my dad said, because I was young at the time, my dad said, don't buy anything. You can only download the free stuff. And I'm like, okay. So I downloaded a lot of demos. But I also just sometimes go to the store and just look up what they have. And I remember sometimes I would come across titles that piqued my curiosity. I wouldn't get into those series till way later, like Final Fantasy, which I remember from the logos alone, I was like, oh, this seems like a respected series. Because the logo looked very professional and each game's logo stood out from each other because of the art that represents it, like how Final Fantasy VII's Meteor stood out compared to Squall and Riona from Final Fantasy VIII, stuff like that. But I also remember seeing Castlevania in there, mainly Symphony of the Night. And later, when once again some call me Johnny, I started watching his reviews. He eventually, shortly after I got to know him, thanks to the Sonic Lost World review, he did the Ron Love Blood and Symphony of the Night reviews, and that's how I got to know more about Castlevania. And eventually, I watched his older marathon that covered Castlevania 1, 2, 3, 4, and Bloodlines, and I was curious on the series. It wouldn't be until later that I would finally own a Castlevania game with Ron Love Blood and The Adventure Rebirth in early 2018, which funnily enough was also the same year that Simon and Richard were announced for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. So yeah, but I think I had tried to experience at least this one on an emulator online before during my emulator phase, and I remember really liking it. I suck at the game, and I'll just say this now. This playthrough does feature some save states. Actually, maybe way more than the Super Metroid playthrough or the Mega Man 2 playthrough, because man, I may really like this game, but I suck at it. I do suck a lot. But it is, I will say in general, the difficulty of this game is more balanced than the one in Castlevania 1. Although I haven't played Castlevania 1 in a good while. Same thing with Castlevania 3. I actually did beat Castlevania 3, but that game is fucking hard. I don't like it. It kicked my balls and it tortured my family and it made me pissy, and I don't like it. I still have yet to play 2. It is very different from the other Castlevania games because it's not a stage-by-stage progression. As Castlevania 2 Symphony of the Night would actually kind of appear near the formula that Symphony of the Night would later take on. Although, I'm not sure if I would call it a full-on... I mean, I guess you could call Symphony's Quest a full-on Metroidvania. Since you get items to get other items, I guess, but not quite. I mean, it was 1987. I don't think the Metroid formula was not completely set in yet. Even if the first Metroid was already out by then. And according to some of the developers of Castlevania 2, the game was based on another Castlevania game that another game that Konami had released on the MSX. I forgot the name, but you can easily look it up on Wikipedia. But yeah, and then later on in 2018, I got Super Castlevania 4 on the Wii U Virtual Console, and I really liked it. I used save states, yeah, I mean, but I had a lot of fun with Super Castlevania 4, and I still have fun to this day. Funnily enough, this is actually the second recording of this game that I actually do for this commentary, because the first one, yeah, I also use save states, like this recording, but I used too much in my opinion, and I just became kind of not satisfied with it. I will still use a lot of save states, especially later on in my playthrough of the game, but I think I'm a bit more reserved earlier on. I think, maybe not, I don't know. Either way, just like the other commentaries, you can hear this like a podcast and not really watch the gameplay, so it's up to you, really, it's up to you. Yes, I did say. But besides that, I do remember that even though my emulator phase was sort of going away, that I did play some Castlevania games on an emulator, like what? I think it was late 2018. Yeah, a bit after Super Castlevania 4. I tried, at that time I also played Symphony of the Night for the first time on the PS3, and I really enjoyed that one. I mean, I really enjoyed. No, fuck it. Castlevania Symphony of the Night is one of my favorite games of all time. I was considering doing a commentary of that game, but the thing is that game is way bigger than this one. And for now, I kind of want to keep commentaries short, or at least single sessions commentaries, like 2 hours of really. I mean, this one is going to be a longer commentary than the Mega Man 2 one, but it's not going to be as long as the Super Metroid one. Simply because, just like Mega Man 2, Super Castlevania 4 is a stage-by-stage game and not a Metroidvania. But I remember I played Harmony of Dissonance on. It was pretty much the GBA games I played around that time. I played Harmony of Dissonance, and I really enjoyed that one. Then I played Aria of Sorrow, really enjoyed that one as well. And then I tried Circle of the Moon, and I fucking tried with that one. And I had to use save states a lot because I was getting just really frustrated by the game, by constantly retrying, and it really felt like sometimes I needed to grind for experience just to have more of a chance. And sometimes the game will ask you to grind just to get some cards that I think for the final boss, you need specific cards in order to actually beat Dracula, which is fucking ridiculous, especially because the cards are reliant on RNG from some enemies. Which, there is a glitch in that game to allow you to get access to certain cards without needing the card, but man, no, I don't like that. And I tried so hard. I got to the Hugh Baldwin boss fight, which I think was one of the last bosses, but then I realized like I was not having fun with that one, so I stopped. I shelved it and I dropped it. Like, one day I do want to give that game another shot, especially with the Advanced Collection. I have played the Anniversary Collection, but I have not yet played the Advanced Collection since the GBA games, alongside not Run of Blood, I wish, Dracula X, which I might as well experiment that one. It's pretty much a different version of Run of Blood that features different level design, but it is also considered inferior. Not so much because it was a TurboGrafx 16 game that was ported on the Super Nintendo, but only because its level design is dick. It's all of the dick. So yeah, it's not as fun, but I still want to give it a shot. Why not? Whenever I get the Advanced Collection. But besides that, I haven't really experimented with new Castlevania games since I beat Castlevania 3. I mean, I did play Kid Dracula on the Anniversary Collection, but I didn't beat it. And Bloodlines is still a game that I still have yet to like play and beat. Now that it's on the NSO expansion pack, and that one has a rewind feature compared to the Anniversary Collection, might as well give that one a shot eventually. I mean, it's not a long game, so yeah, might as well. But and Castlevania 2 as well, because Castlevania 2, it is part of the original trilogy. You might as well experiment with it. Ooh, water. Yes, we're in for a long run because I think this is gonna be like an hour and 38 minutes. So there's plenty to talk about in Castlevania, but I also feel like as much as I am a Castlevania fan, there's still a lot of the series I have not yet tried. Like I said, I've tried the GBA Castlevania games and Symphony of the Night and all that stuff, but I still have yet. There's a bunch of Castlevania games I have not tried, like the arcade Haunted Castle or Castlevania Chronicles, which was more of a faithful remake to the original Castlevania one, in spite of having its own different design and its own unique stages. Castlevania 1 got a whole lot of remakes, reports, reimaginings. Konami really liked using Castlevania 1. And there's still like, I haven't really tried any of the 3D games, like Castlevania 64 or Legacy of Darkness, or the two 3D PS2 games, Lament of Innocence and Curse of Darkness. And I also haven't really tried the Lords of Shadow series. I also haven't tried the DS games. There's still a lot of Castlevania I have not yet tried. Because, well, my mood with Castlevania just kind of goes up and down. Like, sometimes I'm in a Castlevania mood, sometimes I'm not in a Castlevania mood. Recently I did play the Mega Man games, and I hope Konami releases the next collection soon. I mean, everybody wants the DS games, but I would also like for them to do like a collection of 3D games. Or, I mean, they could put the two 64 Castlevania games on the NSO, but I think maybe just like do a collection of the two Nintendo 64 games and the two PS2 games could be a fine collection, since those are bigger games than the 2D ones, so you could sell that for like 20-30 bucks. 4 games, save states, rewind feature, concept art, stuff like that. It would be worth it. And include the Japanese versions just like how they did it in an update for the Anniversary Collection and by default in the Advanced Collection. But it seems like Konami relies on the company M2, which is a company that is very much known for making ports, enhanced ports of like retro games. So it's gonna take a while for that one. And it seems like now Konami is focusing on actually bringing back Metal Gear and making it as safe as possible, because man, they really don't. I think Konami has learned their lesson that they do not want to piss off Metal Gear games, especially after the whole Metal Gear Survive fiasco. I have no thoughts on that game. I've never played it. Maybe one day I'll try it out whenever I get a PS4 or a PS5, because I never got a PS4, so I might as well get a PS5 eventually. But yeah, no, Metal Gear is another topic for itself. I'm not sure if I would ever do a commentary on a Metal Gear game, because those games are pretty huge, and the game I think I have more confidence in is Metal Gear Solid, which or Metal Gear Solid 3, those are still pretty long games. So if I would ever do a commentary on a Metal Gear game, it would probably be split in multiple parts, multiple long parts, but it would still be multiple parts because those are long games. I'm not sure if doing it like a 7 hours, 8 hour video or 10-hour video. Oh Jesus Christ! If people already have trouble watching these long ass videos, then people definitely have trouble watching it like a 10-hour video, and I'm not about to do that, especially because it would take a long time to export and a long time to upload on YouTube, and Jesus, yeah, no. But going back on Castlevania, Super Castlevania 4, I think the reason why I really like this game is just because of its tight level design and its tight controls. So by then, Castlevania had already been known for being hard. Like, it's a hard series, especially the Classicvanias. We call Classicvanias the Castlevania games that you go stage to stage, and then we call the Metroidvanias the ones where you explore the castle and, you know, it functions kind of like a Metroid game. But by that point, Castlevania was known to be hard. And outside of Castlevania 2, which tried something different, by then it was like, okay, stage by stage, when you jump with Simon or Trevor in Castlevania 3, you have to be committed to your jump because you cannot control your jumps in midair. When you jump, you have to be committed. The whips are slow. You can only whip forward, and all those quirks. So with this one, even though it did not eliminate all the quirks that old Castlevania had, like for example, when you still pick up an item, you cannot get your old item back, and that happens to me a couple of times. It happened earlier where I accidentally picked up the axe when I wanted to keep the cross, because the cross is the best sub-weapon in this game. I'll get to the sub-weapons in a bit, but this game just improves Simon's overall control, as you can actually control his jumps in midair, and you can whip in 8 directions. And this game, I think this is the only game that does this. And I'm not sure if other Castlevania games do that, but this game actually has places to hook your whip onto, so you can like swing on them. And I actually really like that mechanic. I don't think the game does too many unique stuff with it, but it is an interesting mechanic, and I do like how it is constantly used throughout the game. Yeah, in terms of the sub-weapons, just like the original Castlevania, we have 5. We have the cross that I'm using, which is really handy. It's called the boomerang in the original Castlevania. I'm not sure if it's still called the boomerang in the Western versions of Super Castlevania 4, because this was during the time where Nintendo of America did not want any religion references in the video games. I really fucking wonder how Nintendo of America back then would react to something like Xenoblade. Oh god. But it was called the boomerang, and fuck that jump. Ooh, water. I'm gonna be talking a lot, folks. And then we have the axe, which throws it at an arc. It's useful for some bosses, but I generally just prefer the cross. We have the dagger, which is the weakest one. It throws directly in front of you, and it's fast, but it doesn't output that much damage. I don't think, actually, a fully powered whip is actually stronger than the dagger, so there's not much. The dagger does not have much use. It's fast. That's it. And then we have the stopwatch, which is pretty useful in the original game. And this one is also pretty useful, but I'd rather just have the cross. And then there's the holy water, which is very, very useful in the original Castlevania game. But in this one, I'd rather just have the cross. Ah, fuck, dagger. I don't like. No, I hate when that happens. It wouldn't be until Ronald where when you pick up an item, the older item drops on the ground for you to pick up if you want. That wouldn't be until that game, and that would be carried over to future Castlevania games. I'm not sure did it carry over to Dracula X? Not sure, but it did carry over for like Symphony of the Night and stuff like that, which is appropriate. I mean, Symphony of the Night is the direct sequel to Run of Bloods, so there's that. But yeah, in this game. And also, just like the original Castlevania, you can pick up 2 and 3 blocks, which allow you to throw that sub-weapon 2 or 3 more times. Which for the cross is really helpful, because having a level 3 cross, I'm calling the levels, yeah, a level 3 cross allows you to basically throw out 3 crosses at once, and it absolutely decimates bosses. Of course, I'm not going to be able to show that out for every single boss, but it is very useful. I think for this next boss, I actually would have to strategize because I had a dagger, and the dagger is not really that good, so I would have to use my whip. My trusty whip. Another thing that they add in this game, besides being able to whip in 8 directions, is that if you hold the whip button down, you can actually do a thing called the whip dangly thing, where you hold it down and then you just use the whip to the D-pad to just fuck around with the whip, which seems silly, but it's actually very useful for blocking projectiles and smaller enemies. Like, I actually used it a good amount of times throughout this run because of how useful it is. It wouldn't always be brought back in future Castlevania games, but it was brought back for Symphony of the Night whenever you play as Richter in that game, and it is pretty useful. Besides that, I don't think Belmonts would have multi-directional whip aiming ever again, which is a bit sad, but I guess. I would like to have a game like Super Castlevania 4 again, even if we have to be like a small downloadable title. The closest we got was The Adventure Rebirth, which was pretty much a reimagining of Castlevania The Adventure, the Game Boy game, which, for my word, is pretty much one of the worst Castlevania games because of how slow and difficult that game is. Like, that's a game I'm probably never gonna play. And if I do play, please give me a rewind. I'm not gonna play that game without a rewind. It's like Mega Man Base. I'm not playing the game without a rewind. I know some people may call me a wussy, but I don't care. I just want to have fun, okay? So that was that twin-headed dragon. Was it twin heads or was it two? We never actually see the body, so it could have been 2 dragons, but it could also have been like twin-headed dragon. I don't know. But the reason why I want another game like this is that, yeah, I really like the Metroidvanias. I mean, Symphony of the Night is one of my favorite games of all time. But I also really like that this game does have a lot of, a good amount of stages before you reach the castle, and then you have the journey inside of the castle. And there's a lot of twists and turns, and it's not that much different from the first Castlevania game. But I think the first Castlevania game, you already started with the castle. You just had that brief entryway before you go to the castle, and then you're already in the castle. While this game expands on that and does something greater out of it. It just feels like a more epic journey, I'd say. I mean, Castlevania can be epic, it's just that this one feels the most epic out of all of them. Besides that, one thing that should be of note is that you collect parts when you break candles, and those are basically your ammunition for the sub-weapons. Don't ask me why hearts are the ammunition instead of something else, but it is what it is. And then for some reason in Castlevania 2, hearts are the currency. And I'm like, what? I sell my hearts? 50 hearts for holy water. Ah, God! Ah, my hearts! That sounds rather gruesome. But Castlevania is no stranger for being a bit gruesome here and there. I mean, even though the series as a whole, the earlier entries like Peggy 7, and then future entries would be Peggy 12. Some entries are actually Peggy 18, so yeah, it's not afraid to be mature sometimes. Besides that, yeah, Castlevania is has all these references like horror movies, so having a bit of gore here and there, not big. Actually, a stage 8 in this game is full of green acid in the American version, but in the Japanese version, that's blood. So yeah, it's not afraid to get a bit unsettling at some points. Also, this game, you can tell that even though it's not a launch title for the Super Nintendo, this game was an early Super Nintendo game, so it really used the Mode 7 graphics a whole fucking lot. In case you don't know what Mode 7 is, it basically allowed the developers to actually be able to rotate sprites and create a pseudo 3D gameplay, basically. 2 of the Super Nintendo's launch titles, Pilot Wings and the first F-Zero, actually, utilized Mode 7 to create a pseudo 3D perspective. So it kind of felt like you were playing a 3D game, except not. And for this game, it uses Mode 7 for a couple of things, like here to rotate the stage, which is admittedly a cool perspective. And in the later stage, the background is pretty much kind of like a rotating cylinder, and But because of that, it causes a lot of slowdown. Like, this game is prone to slow down in a lot of points. It never really detracts the gameplay much from me, but it is quite noticeable. And for people who are a real... Oh, here is the rotating cylinder I was just talking about. Ah, what a coincidence. And I died. Fun fact, this this stage, it feels like when you walk, like, oh, the stage is crumbling behind me, oh no. But the stage only crumbles if you actually walk, because if you stayed still, you would be fine. This is not like run, this kind of thing, which is funny. I guess maybe they wanted to do that, but because of technical limitations, they couldn't. I mean, this game, like, whenever I whip or whenever an enemy comes out, this stage already slows down. So I think Konami could only go so far with what they could do. But I really like their ambition with this game. I really enjoy it. Like, I appreciate that they were really... They wanted to push the Super Nintendo, and it was like, yeah, let's start off with a bang and all that stuff, you know. That and Contra 3, which I've never played a Contra game. I mean, okay, lie. Dream Emulator Phase, I did play the first Contra. Didn't get far, and I used the Konami kill to get a bunch of extra lives, but yeah, I don't have much of an experience with Contra in general. But overall, like, yeah, no, Super Castlevania 4 is just really ambitious, and I really appreciate it. It's a game that I can just pick up and play. I'm not the best at it, no. I die a lot, yes. But it's just a really fun game, and honestly, I would love to see some friends of mine play it, and just me helping them out, and see how that turns out. Or maybe I would play for them on a stream or something like that. As in, stream as in on Discord. I mean, I have a Twitch channel, but I never use it. Don't bother searching for it. You won't really gain anything out of it. But yeah, Super Castlevania 4 is a really fun game, and it has some impressive bosses too. Like, the boss that's coming up is like a big rock monster, and they decided to put the hitbox on like the foreground and the boss on the background, so that the boss actually has this twisting animation at the end. It's kind of funny, but it really goes to show that, yeah, Konami back in the day really was experimenting. There's a lot of opinions you could say. There's a lot of things you could say about Konami now, but the thing that I think Konami I think is trying to slowly but surely redeem themselves. And especially with now they're trying to bring back the Metal Gear series with that collection and the remake of 3, which they've also been very safe on that one, as they're using like the story, the voice acting is pretty much the same as they've confirmed. But I'm not sure how different the gameplay will be. But I don't think you can just simply put Metal Gear Solid 5's gameplay into Metal Gear Solid 3 and have it work. Like, we had a remake of the first Metal Gear Solid, the Twin Snakes, and that brought over Metal Gear Solid 2's gameplay to Metal Gear Solid 1, and that broke the game, since the game's level design was not meant for it. So I'm not sure if bringing Metal Gear Solid 5's gameplay would be the best. But here's that rock monster I was talking about. The only thing I don't like about this boss is, whenever you hit it, the screen flashes white, and it's kind of disturbing for the eyes. I could put a warning. It's not as severe as Mega Man 2's. Oh god, no, but yeah. Oh, I died. Fuck! Anyways, we're back. Now I'm more prepared with my axe. The thing is that when you lose to this boss, you have to replay pretty much the stage all over again. Not the entire thing, just the 4-3 or 4-4 portion, but it's still not that pleasant. Anyway, oh, you can still get hit there. I don't like that. And he's dead. Strike a cool pose. What I like about this game is that, unlike the original Castlevania, when you pick up the orb at the end of the stage, it freezes you. So you can, like, strike a cool pose. Like, maybe have Simon whip diagonally, and then pick up the orb while doing so, and then, yeah, Simon did it, yeah. It's interesting how Simon Belmont is, like, the original, like, the first Belmont we ever saw. Like, because he's from the first game, like, it was the first film we ever saw. But out of all the Belmonts, even though he's the most recognized one, he's the one that we don't know much about. Like, we know his journeys, but we don't know much how he is in terms of personality and stuff. Like, we know a lot of other Belmonts, even Julius, which he never got his own game. We only saw him via Aria of Sorrow and Dawn of Sorrow. But we know how Richter, we know how Richter is like. We know how Juice is like. Simon's grandson, actually. We know how Trevor is like. Especially, I mean, Trevor. I think he appears in Curse of Darkness, but I never played that game, so I don't know how he's portrayed there. But now with the Castlevania TV series, which, I mean, it's an adaptation. It's not exactly gonna be canon, but it does kind of it gave Trevor more of a personality. But Simon himself, despite him having a lot of games, Simon, we don't know much about his personality. We don't. I would like to know a bit more about him. Although, I mean, I remember maybe Grimoire of Souls, that mobile game, gave Simon more personality. I'm not sure. I don't know. He just kind of falls into being the Belmont that everybody knows. I mean, even his design is not really consistent. It's like the original games portrayed him as sort of a barbarian, but even then, that was not completely consistent. It's like, okay, the Japanese box art for Castlevania 2 is the same, so okay, the design of Simon would be the same, but in the instruction manual it's different. In Castlevania 1, his design is also different. In Super Castlevania 4, if you look at the Japanese and then the American box art, his design is also different. Like, it wouldn't be until, I guess, the original release of Castlevania Chronicles on the Sharp X68000, I think that's the name of the computer, that you get the Conan the Belmonts, basically, the Conan the Barbarian design for Simon, which would later on be used for Super Smash Bros. But personally, I actually prefer Hayami Kojima's design for Castlevania Chronicles, the PS1 version, where, yeah, I mean, red hair, he looks like pretty and stuff, but I don't know, I just really like that design. And then, I mean, okay, there's a Castlevania Dungeon design, which, that's basically buff Light Yagami. And I've never watched Death Note, but I'm not really curious on Death Note, I've gotta be frank, I'm not that curious on Death Note. I don't know why, I actually don't have anything against it, I don't know, it just never tickled my fancy. Also, my motivation for anime is not being that strong recently, so I've been going up and down when it comes to watching anime, so But one day I do want to play Judgment. It's pretty much the series fighting game, where he brings up a bunch of Castlevania characters together, you just beat them up in like a freebies. I think that was a 3D fighter actually, yeah. It wasn't necessarily the best fighting game, but might as well try it because maybe, yeah. And also it was on the Wii, and only on the Wii. I get that the Wii had a large audience, but why make a fighting game only on the Wii? I mean, I know Tatsunoko vs. Capcom is a thing, but why only on the Wii? Again? Why? I don't know. Maybe if I research it, maybe they would have a bigger reason for it, but yeah. Also, we're now inside of the castle. We're starting with stage 6, we have the castle, and yeah, it's really good. But I think now is a good time for me to compliment the soundtrack, because I really like the soundtrack. Konami understood this challenge ship for Super Nintendo, and I really like the Super Nintendo's challenge ship, as that, like, there's a lot of great songs on the Super Nintendo because of it, and this game just is really good at incorporating, like, sometimes, like, heroic music, epic music, tense music as we're hearing right now, classical feeling music, like, a creepy music, like, this is so good. I really like the soundtrack. Some of my favorite themes are Simon's theme, the opening, like the text opening, the theme we heard, which, yeah, that is really good. And I feel that Chandelier section, fuck. Another case of them using the Mode 7 is they were rotating these sprites. Although the hitboxes for, like, the Chandelier stuff can be a bit inconsistent at times, so I recommend you being cautious whenever you get to this session, if you play the game, that is. But yeah, what was I talking about? I forgot. Anyway, wow, you forgot what you were gonna say? Yeah, I did forget what I was gonna say. But yeah, no, and then there's this, yeah, Castlevania Judgment. One day I'll play that game. As there's a bunch of Castlevania games I do want to play, but honestly, I just kind of want Konami just to collections for other games. I do eventually want to get the Advanced Collection, and I still don't have it at the time of the time of recording. I don't have the Advanced Collection, but it's a game that I do want to play because it contains basically. I already talked about it earlier, but yeah, I do want to play that collection. Also, Secret Room. Yeah, this is a nice secret room. Like, and also there's this ghost, and I killed the ghost dog. Sorry, you were in my way. This is a great room for like getting items and stuff. I already have the cross and level 3 cross, so not getting any more. I'm good. Moonwalking upstairs. Yeah, this stage is an interesting one because it's like it's beginning of the castle. You're like seeing the furniture. It's kind of like the big chandelier room and stuff. Very representative of old Gothic architecture. Is it Gothic architecture? I think it's Gothic architecture. I'll be real. I'm not the biggest expert of medieval stuff, even though I come from a country that has a lot of it. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a lot of Castlevania games in like Portugal and stuff because Portugal and Spain, because we're countries that are very religious. In spite of the irony that I am not religious myself, I don't give a shit about religion. And I don't know, it's kind of like the thing that's it's like this whole thing is just kind of something that the Iberian Peninsula was like. But anyway, we're now at this section where we fight ghosts. I don't know how Simon defeats the ghost, but I'm willing to assume that his whip, the vampire clay, is so badass that he kills ghosts with no problem. That just how badass Simon Belmont is. Yeah. It is kind of interesting, the Lament of Innocence, the first PS2 game. It's pretty much the origin story for a lot of stuff. The rivalry between the Belmont clan and Dracula, and the origin of the vampire killer. And it's interesting that it was the origin story, and also it was kind of like a hack and slash. So it's basically sort of Castlevania mixed in with Devil May Cry in a 3D space, and I'm not sure if that game is also a Metroidvania as well, but if it is, like, there's also that mixed in. I'm very curious on that game. I just kind of want Konami to re-release it, that's all. It was re-released on the Japanese and North American PSN stores on the PS3 as a PS2 classic, but it was not re-released on the European one. And I'm like, why? It's like the PS1 Mega Man games. God damn it! Why did we miss such crucial titles in that lineup? I don't get it. But thank God that it's region free, so it's just a matter of going to Play Asia, getting some codes from those other regions, and then doing an account beforehand of that region, and then buy the game with those codes. I've done that. That's actually how I was able to get Klonoa on the PS1, and how I was able to play Cousin of Notum of the Wind, that hot air balloon simulator, that's Japanese exclusive, that was actually re-released on the PS3. And LSD! Yep, there's a game called LSD, the drug. Yes, it is fundamentally supposed to be based on a book detailing experiences with the drug. It's pretty freaky and very experimental. It's also not a game that I recommend like playing to beat. I would recommend just like playing to experience it, because it's very long and very repetitive if you actually try to beat, because you have to basically do one in-game year, so like 365 in-game days, which takes a lot, and it's pretty much you just going through very similar stuff. Like, you may encounter like something different, which, I mean, that's the whole thing about the game, that it's like expect the unexpected, but the game just can get repetitive. So after like 10 in-game games, I just stopped playing. But it was an interesting game. It's definitely one of those art games, I'd say. I mean, it's one of those games that, yeah, I mean, you could consider an interesting art piece, even if it's pretty much just like very messy and fucky and brain scratching, brain taxing, brain fucking, a mind fuck basically. It's a mind fuck. What I find okay, going back to Castlevania, furniture is enemies. Furniture as enemies. The tables will actually attack you. I got a preemptive on them because I already knew they were there. But why is furniture attacking me? I'm insulted. But coming up, we have the major boss of this stage, which is a ghost wedding couple. Let's put them out of their misery. And the cross. Bam. Seriously, having a level 3 cross really fucking helps. Woo! Look at that epic pose. You go, Simon. You go, Simon. So, what's next for our vampire slaying Belmont? I mean, actually, all Belmonts are vampire slayers. That felt weird. Stage 7. This is an interesting one because I think the theming of this one is pretty much a library. And I like that. I like that even in the castle itself, like, you explore a lot of stuff. Although the castles wouldn't be as varied until we got to Symphony of the Night, where there's a lot of stuff in that castle. So we have the entrance, we have a clock tower, we have the staircase to Dracula, we have underground caverns, we have a library, we have a gallery, we have a church, like place. We have a lot of stuff in that castle. Well, here, yeah, no, like Super Castlevania 4, like kind of started to establish more stuff in the castle. I mean, Castlevania 1 and Castlevania 3 had their stuff, and you know, in Castlevania 3 was, I think, already doing the stages before you get to the castle thing. So Castlevania 4 is not necessarily new in that department, but Castlevania 4 is a much better game than Castlevania 3 because Castlevania 3 is fucking hard. Way too hard. Please play the Japanese version. That version is way better, and even then, it's still a very hard game. So, if you ever want to play Castlevania 3, approach with caution. Holy shit, it took me so many tries for that one. But yeah, Super Castlevania 4 is just a much fun game. You don't have the multiple characters like you had in Castlevania 3, which is a bit of a shame, but you have really good control. So, yeah. What I find interesting is that, yeah, okay, Trevor Belmont in Castlevania 3 did not have mid-head control, so he was like Simon in the first game. But Grant Anassi, one of the characters you can play as, has full mid-head control. So they were capable of doing that, but not for every character, just for one. And I'm like, what? Yeah, well, that was weird. But yeah, no, I hope people enjoy this commentary. I mean, that's kind of redundant considering that I've said that for the other commentaries, but yeah, no, I mean, Castlevania is just a series that I really enjoy, but it's one of those series that I want to play more of. Yes, like, for example, the Mega Man series, with the Mega Man 2 commentary that I did last time, I've only played the classic series up to this point, and even in the classic series, there's still some like games I haven't played, like the Game Boy games, but there's still more to experiment. While Castlevania is like, I feel like even though with Mega Man, I still have like the X, the Zero, ZX, Legends, and if I want to, depending on if we're getting Star Force Series to experiment, Castlevania just feels like there's fundamental missing blocks in my journey, like the DS games or the 3D games. And I suck a lot in this section. There's a lot of precise jumps in this game, but it never really feels unfair. It just feels like you really have to get close to the edge to make jumps. Like in an early stage 3, there's a lot of tight jumps that I was doing, and I was doing pretty well because I'm just really used to that stage, but yeah, and that stage, when you go up, more and more up, like, you cannot afford to fall all the way down. You die. Like, the screen scrolls with you, and the new death zones becomes the new place, the new bottom part that you created by going up and up. So yeah, I probably could have explained that thing better, Once again, just like last time when the Mega Man 2 commentary, for you guys to not hear my fan, I have turned it off. And it's really hot today. I mean, fortunately, at the time of this recording, Portugal is one of the countries that is being the least affected by the heat. Because I'm seeing temperatures in other countries like Italy, and I'm really feeling sorry for those guys. But it's still pretty fucking hot. So, maybe I should have opened my window, but I did not want, like, sounds from the outside to be recorded, so I have to endure. Also, fuck that enemy. I do not like that enemy. I mean, you can see it, but your instinct when you're going up the stairs is to continue going up the stairs until you land on the platform, and you're gonna get hit. So I don't like that. I don't think the enemy placement in this game is as bad as previous games, but there's still some things here and there that remind you that you're playing a Castlevania game. Also, there's this centipede enemy that just randomly appears. You can defeat it, and I think you get a bunch of hearts if you do. But besides that, like, that's the only time in the game that centipede enemy appears, and you can simply up-screen the guy, like how I did, and just continue. Oh, by the way, this game also adds crouch walking, and it's as simple as that, as it sounds. Like, you crouch, and you walk. You can already crouch in previous games, but now you can crouch walk. Yeah, it's easy in a few places in the game, and yeah, you do need it, except for that, so you don't get hit by the spikes, because spikes in this game, just like Mega Man, are one-hit kills, Simon, so watch out. But besides that, yeah, no, crouch walking is used sometimes in the game, and yep, it's that. I think there was another thing that this game introduced that I forgot to talk about, but I forgot what that is. Oh well, here's this boss. It's a giant knight. Look at those crosses. They're really going far. And there you go. Seriously, if you have level 3 cross, yeah. But of course, that is if you're able to keep the level 3 cross and you don't pick up another sub-weapon by accident or don't die. So yeah. Alright, where we go next? Oh my god. Just like the original game, there's a part of the game, just like the first Castlevania game, there's a part of the game where you fall down. And this, I'm not sure if I'd call this the hardest stage of the game, but it is pretty fucking hard. Like, full transparency here, I use a lot of save states because this stage can get pretty annoying, especially with the amount of spikes you have to dodge. And if you put one pixel too far, yep, you're getting hit by those spikes and you're dying. Also, that green goo, that is blood in the original Japanese version, can also damage you. So that's not fun. Also, another thing that I noticed in Super Castlevania 4, enemies feel like they get stronger the further you get in the game. It was probably also a thing in the original Castlevania game, but I don't like it. I don't like it. Like, with the exception of a few enemies, like those skeletons, those bone pillars, which seem to take the same amount of hits. Others, like the eyeballs, feel like they take more hits than before, and I'm not really a big fan of that. Yep, one-hit kills. Yup, I don't like that. Which makes this stage pretty difficult. Also, there's some reappearing, disappearing platforms at the end of the stage that sometimes feel like they don't have a particular pattern, and it's just kind of like, hope you get lucky to cross them. Fortunately, I'm not. It's the last thing you have to do in the stage before you get the boss, which, I mean, I guess it's sort of a compliment, but it's also not, because if you die that session, you have to repeat a good portion of the stage all over again. But thankfully, stages themselves are broken up into acts. Like, we're going on 8-1 now, and then eventually we go on to 8-2. I'm not sure, I mean, if you get a game over, I think you'll have to repeat the old stage all over again. But if you just die, you just have to repeat that respective act, which is good. Oh, I'm sorry. It is very difficult. Although, now thinking about it, with the blood being, in the Japanese version, this being blood and not green acid or green stuff, it's kind of weird how blood damages Simon. because that doesn't really make that much sense. I guess the green acid does make more sense. Who knew that censorship would lead to just stuff making more sense? I mean, unless that was very hot blood and that would damage Simon? I don't know. Is it like Shin Godzilla's blood that it just melts Simon and it hurts him? I don't know. Have you guys seen Shin Godzilla? That's a good movie. Yeah, I mean, I actually have been watching some... I've been watching some Godzilla stuff, mainly because I've been doing an essay for one of my classes. I don't typically talk much about my college life, but yeah, I'm my last essay that I still have to do. I'm close to complete. At the time of recording, I'm close to completing it. So, yeah. I have to do. I actually decided to talk about Godzilla and Shin Godzilla, and analyzing those films and comparing them to eco-criticism in Japan, which is pretty interesting. It's pretty interesting. Damn it! I don't like that session because of that bone pillar, and then it's hard to get into a good position where I don't get hits, but also am able to hit him. So yeah. But yeah, I watched the original Godzilla film from 1954 and Shin Godzilla, that's from 2016. And there's a new Godzilla film coming out later this year, Godzilla -1. That's pretty interesting because I'm actually gonna be in Japan around that time, and yeah, I'm actually going to Japan later this year. So I could hypothetically actually watch that movie in theaters. That's actually kind of cool. If I have the money, because I actually researched it, and tickets for cinemas in Japan are actually way more expensive than tickets here in Portugal. So like, but I think I could save up a bit and watch that movie. I'm curious. I mean, it seems like they're going. Like, they're not following up Shin Godzilla, but they're doing a Godzilla that's still very destructive, and it's taking place right after World War II. So, like, in terms of Godzilla's, is like the earliest points, and the earliest points in like the timeline. I mean, there's no particular Godzilla timeline because a lot of the movies are reboots of one another, but yeah, no, it looks interesting. But enough about Godzilla. Let's go back to Castlevania. I mean, okay, I guess there's not much I can say about what's Castlevania because my knowledge is limited, and I mean I could gush about Symphony of the Night, but the thing is that maybe hypothetically in the future I could do a Symphony of the Night commentary. Although for now, after this one, I don't plan to do a commentary for a good while because I'm going on vacation soon and I wouldn't really have much time to record any other games. And also, I don't have that many games in mind that I could do a single section. I have like one or two that I could do, but I'll leave them for the future. Maybe in August, I don't want to date this video, but maybe in August I could do another commentary, but there's also the possibility of me just not doing anything else in August. And then later on in the month I'm going to Japan, so not sure how it's gonna be when I'm there, if I'm gonna be able to do many more videos on YouTube or not. But for now, I mean, yeah, I'm doing this, and I hope you guys enjoy it. And then while I'm gone, yeah, I'll just use my vacation. I'm not picking up that dagger. Fuck that dagger. Fuck that dagger. I think I spent a lot of time on this stage. Jesus. Also, here's the other session where you have to use crouch lock. Speedrunners are probably able to just go for this session and like confidently and only crouch walk in specific sections, but I mean, I'm more of a casual gamer. Here's yep, fuck this stage. And I fucked myself. Yeah, I guess this is what happens when you use save states. Oops. I accidentally saved while I was dying, so This is why I call this series a very casual video, like a very casual commentary, because you'll see that I'm not really good at these games. I'm just a guy who wants to have fun playing these games, and then I commentate, I shoot the shit and I put these videos out on YouTube. Oh Jesus, I'm sweating. Oh god. You know, if I do a commentary in August, I'm definitely turning on like fan
next time because I'm not sure if I'm gonna be able to handle the heat, especially with a commentary that's like an hour and a half long. I mean, last time was not even an hour, but Jesus Christ. But yeah, there's things happening in my life. Castlevania is cool, and yeah, I mean, yeah. Let me see if I can do this. Nope. This time. This time. Go, Simon, go. Oh wow, I got really lucky. Thank you, Spike. Now, because I have a piss poor sub-weapon, the dagger, I gotta fight this seriously. It's a Frankenstein's monster. It's not called Frankenstein, people. I don't think he was ever given an actual name. Frankenstein is a creator, not the monster. Get it right, dummies. So I guess we call it just the creature. I think some places call it just the creature or the monster. Yeah, Castlevania is the main villain is Dracula. A lot of it is just like basing off of old monsters from like Universal's area, like the Mummy, Frankenstein's monster. Do we ever see an Invisible Man? I'm not sure. We do see invisible creatures in Symphony of the Night, but I'm not sure about the Invisible Man. And Dracula, the big bad. So yeah, this stage is finally done. Oh, finally. Next stage, stage 9, which is the last numbered stage because afterwards it would be stage A and stage B. Stage 9 is the treasure. It's the treasure stage. See, it's gold. I find this music track pretty interesting because it starts very odd and menacing as we're hearing right now. Yeah. But then oh. And then after a bit it gets a bit more energetic. Yeah. Because I'm not necessarily in the final stretch, but you're pretty close to the end. Because afterwards you'll get to the clock tower, and the clock tower tends to be one of the last stages before you beat the game. The clock tower is one of the last stages before you beat the game. But in Castlevania tradition, the clock tower tends to be the thing that happens before you go to Dracula himself, or to the main staircase. Or it tends to be. I'm not sure. It's one of the last stuff. I'm not a Castlevania expert, okay? Yeah, there's a lot of treasure, but there's also a lot of bottomless pits. So watch out. Hopefully you don't die. And hopefully you don't pick up that axe. Oh yeah, you may be noticing that I try to whip the walls. Because you get turkey. Like, turkey is, or the pot roast. That is the main way to refill your health in this game. But you can't really, find any candles. This game, compared to other Castlevania games, actually has some mini pot roasts, in some candles, but only every now and then. Most of them are behind walls, and even then, you won't know exactly what walls to break in your first playthrough, so it's a matter of just experimenting. So that's why I whip the walls, because I don't remember all the locations. I remember some, but not all of them. The first act is done. Now for the second act. I really enjoyed this game's soundtrack. And I think the soundtrack will be very interesting in the next few stages, because it actively calls back to previous games. And I accidentally picked up a stopwatch. Fuck. That's not a bad item, but it costs a lot of hearts to use. Unlike, for example, the cross, it's 1 heart per use. But here it's 4, 5 hearts per use? It stops time for a few seconds, but it doesn't work on everything. It works on many enemies, but on bosses, no, that shit doesn't tend to work. But I guess, what else could I say? Besides that is actually sort of a quicksand kind of thing. And I decided, yeah, fuck it, let's just load up a save state. Right the wrongs, people, right the wrongs. I do like that in this stage, you if you're expert enough with your whip, you can actually hook up to here and get some goodies, which is rewards. And then later on in the game, stuff gets a bit harder. I mean, this game does. I mean, that's to be expected. The game's gonna get harder and harder the further you progress, as you're getting more and more used to the game's mechanics. But, ooh. But again, this is not really a long game, so it's one that you could actually beat in like a second session if you want to. I mean, this game does not have a save feature. It's a game from 1991. It's back then, getting save chips for your cartridges cost a lot of money. So very few games back then had it. But this game at least has a password feature, so you can resume from the last stage you left off. But you only get the password like if you get a game over. So, and I find it kind of weird. I mean, it makes sense. I mean, how else would you get the password, I guess, besides stopping the game, I guess? But, yeah, I mean, you get a password after you die and get a game over. But I think that also means that you don't really get a sub-weapon attached to it, because by dying and getting game over, you lose your sub-weapons. I don't know. But I guess for a lot of kids back in the day when they were playing this game, it's like, oh, this game, oh, it's really tough, so it would take them a lot of tries till they finally get to Dracula and beat him. Nowadays, I mean, yeah, but the thing is, I don't have the same mentality as those kids back in the day. I get it, a challenge. And, you know, I actually did a playthrough of Mega Man 2 recently, because, okay, this is really fun. So, Capcom is celebrating their 40th year anniversary, right? And they launched a specific site to, like, you know, to show off their massive history called Capcom Town, where you can actually play some retro games in there, and it uses NES and SNES emulation for that. So you can play up until like late September. You can play Mega Man 1, Mega Man 2, Mega Man X, Final Fight, and Street Fighter 2, the original Street Fighter 2 on Super Nintendo, and that's really cool. And I actually did a playthrough of Mega Man 2 recently. And, you know, there's no save states feature, there's no rewind feature, it's pretty much a cut and dry, and pretty much the original NES game. And I was able to beat it without save states and rewinds. I died a few times, but I was able to beat it. And maybe one day, with patience, I could beat Super Castlevania 4. Especially as this was the second recording of this game for this commentary. So hypothetically, if I play the game again, I could do it without saves and stuff, with enough patience. It would take me longer, but, you know, it would be a fun experience. But of course, the reason why I'm using save states is not only, you know, to go by, just to really go by faster, and so you guys don't have, and also, I realize that with these commentaries, I appreciate the compliments that some people give me, that I'm able to talk for a good while, but after a while I start to run out of subjects to talk about. So if if my playthrough of a game is shorter, then that's not necessarily bad for me, because yeah, maybe I'm not able to talk about if it's a game that I have a lot to talk about, then yeah, maybe I won't be able to talk about that much. But for example, my last commentary, the Mega Man 2 one, it was not even an hour long, and I was able to talk about most of the things I wanted to talk about in that one. And this one, I'm already feeling like I'm starting to run out of subject, and of stuff to talk about. The golden bats. So I actually had really shitty luck, as I got damaged too much during this boss, and I had to be very precise with how I avoided his attacks. Hey. But besides that, like, just be careful on his projectiles, and then after a while, he gets divided into these 3 little critters, and you can dodge them, but damn, does it take a while to dodge. Or was it? Yeah, I saved here because I was on Death Tour. I died here. But yeah, no, it really took me a lot of tries to avoid these bats, as it's like every time you hit them, like they drop gold, and that damages you when it lands on top of you. I'm guessing, yeah, gold falling down that fast could hurt. So I'm like, oh no, I'm getting too rich, something like that. But yeah, it took me a lot of tries to eventually be able to jump over the enemies. I really had to get them down to it. I apologize. Maybe I could have cut here, but nah. I already made that joke earlier in this commentary with which I just randomly took. I think that is a scene from like Leon the Professional. I've never watched that movie, but I saw that joke in the Super Gaming Brothers the Let's Play of Super Castlevania 4, and I'm like, you know what? That scene is funny. For years, I want to know what that movie was, and it took me years to find out what that movie was. Gee, that was a hard stage. That was a hard boss, just because of my shitty luck. But now, ladies and gentlemen, we're getting into the last few stages of the game. Hey, look, a staircase. Oh, okay, yeah, this part is automatic, so the game forced me to go back down and then go back up. Wait a minute. This song is familiar. Are we sensing a Castlevania 2 callback? Hell yeah, baby, it's Bloody Tears. I really like that they brought this song back. It's like, in a way, this feels like the end of an era for Castlevania. It wouldn't be the last Castlevania. I mean, we had Run of Blood and then Dracula X, and then Castlevania Chronicles and stuff like that. But it really does feel like the end of an era is like, it's the last... I don't know what I would call the end of an era. But it feels like the end of the original quadrilogy, as after this, Castlevania games wouldn't really get numbers after them. And even then, this one only got numbers by proxy. I mean, besides Castlevania 2, Castlevania 3 actually didn't get a number. Yeah, and Castlevania 4 also didn't get a number in the Japanese versions. So, excuse me. This jump is tight. Because, yeah, the game is just like, will Simon lands? I don't know. You have to be very precise with this jump. Whee! But now we're in the godforsaken clock tower, and it's not really that bad, but you have to be very precise with your jumps. Whee! Dude. I will criticize one thing about the song, though, is that the song by itself was not that long in the original game. So you can actually see it kind of looping in this one, and it doesn't last that long, so, But it's not bad because it's fucking Bloody Tears, and I love Bloody Tears. Actually, fun fact, and this is more of an interesting story that I have. This song is, I feel like it's so popular that even people who are not into video games know about it, because I had a friend in, like, middle school, or, like, middle school, I mean, in like 7th to 9th grade, who was studying music, had music classes outside of school, and she was learning piano, and she actually learned the Bloody Tears on piano on her music class, and she's not a video gamer at all, but it's interesting how her teacher actually taught her about Bloody Tears, and she knew that, oh yeah, that Castlevania song is like, wow, and in my mind, because, you know, I'm an epic gamer. I'm the most epic of game now. Fuck. I was, like, shocked that's like, oh wow, she who is not into video games at all knows about Bloody Tears. I was pretty shocked about that. I mean, it is one of the more popular songs, besides the dun 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 dun. Wait a minute, that's beginning from 3. God damn it, I'm dying a lot. And I'm getting kind of sweaty. Fuck. Always hydrate yourselves, kids, especially during the summer. Actually, hydrate at all. Just hydrate in general. Like, goddamn. Oh yeah, I just remembered the thing that this game also introduced that wasn't in the original Castlevania trilogy is that you could actually freely jump on and off stairs, which doesn't seem like a lot, but considering that the way that you can't really defend much on stairs, that is kind of a godsend. Also, here, if you do not go up and down with your whip during while you're hooking onto this thing, while you're on this hook, you will get hit by that axe knight and die. So yeah, Because that is a thing that Castlevania is notorious for, is the knockback. Whenever you get hit, you get knocked back, and you get knocked back far, and if you're close to a bottom pit, you're probably getting knocked into that bottom pit. And that sucks. It sucks, but it is a Castlevania tradition, I guess. But yeah, we're getting close to the ends, I believe. I mean, this is still A-1, but A-2 is not that big. But this stage really tests you with these hooks. Yup. Again, it's a fun mechanic that I wish they brought back more. Maybe a future Castlevania game did bring this back, but I just don't know. I just don't know. Actually, if you know about Castlevania, say in the comments which game brought it back. If there is any game that brought it back. Next boss, it's the Mummy! And with Triple Cross, I'm making my bitch. Da 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 da. And I'm also close to dying. Ooh. But thankfully, just prepare your Triple Cross ahead of time, and I think you'll be able to do it. Also, you can use it, yeah, just like I'm doing right now. You can use the whip dangly thing to block up those projectiles. So you can stand here to kind of manipulate the AI mummy to go over to that place, which makes things a lot easier, as you could just do that. And with that, mummy defeated. Isn't that cool? Wee! Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. Whew! That was a big-ass clock tower. And bye-bye, bloody tears. Hey, a new passage. Dun, dun. Stage B. This is pretty much the last stage of the game, and one of the longer ones, because it's not only the full-on stage, but then you have a boss rush. Yes, a boss rush. It's not like the Mega Man one, where you actually fight those enemies all over again. Where you fight previous bosses all over again. You fight new bosses, but you fight them back to back, and I mean, it's not a bad boss rush, but the first boss can go suck it. I'll go more into detail when we get to the boss rush, but But yeah, no, welcome to Stage B, and is that a remix of Vampire Killer from the first Castlevania game? And I missed that jump. You know, since you can go on and off stairs, I was thinking that, maybe I can get on these stairs, but I guess I failed to press the up button while I was there, so I died. But yeah, no, this is a remix. Yeah, they brought. So yeah, this kind of feels like a less raw because they bring back songs from previous games. So they brought back Bloody Tears from Castlevania 2. They're now bringing back Vampire Killer from Castlevania 1. And eventually we'll hear Beginning from Castlevania 3. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, what I recommend doing is before you get on stairs, you just like crouch and crouch lock. Because that is the best way to guarantee that you'll actually get on stairs and not just fall off of them like a dope. This is pretty epic. But if you just continue going forward, you won't get hit by the bats. You could jump and then diagonally whip like back and down. Like Simon's back, but the bats will respawn, so not much of a use for that. Welcome to the beginning portion. And Jesus Christ, okay, when you get the timing down, this is good. This is like, okay, you can get by it, but you have to do some really very precise jumps on this one, because I'd say this is one of the harder parts of the game. And there's that thing on the bottom there that you guys saw that is actively coming to kill you. If you are not fast enough, you will die. So yeah, this is really part of the game where you have to be very careful, very careful, but also be fast. So it's kind of like Quicksman stage from Mega Man 2. Like you have to react fast enough, and hopefully you hold that up on the D-pad a whole lot. Ooh-wee. Next part of the stage is you have to jump on these platforms while avoiding those spikes, and just like every other spike, or most of the spikes in this game, that is a one-hit kill, so watch out. Yep. really nice hearing beginning again. I mean, Castlevania 3's soundtrack is really good, and actually, if you ever check out the soundtrack on the NES, but also check out the Famicom original, because when the game was when Castlevania 3 was released in Japan, like the Famicom just had more audio channels, and as such, the music on the Japanese version of Castlevania 3 has a lot more instruments and more oomph to it, and I highly recommend people check it out. Like, it's a really good soundtrack, especially if you like enjoy chiptune. Which, I mean, it was an old 80s title, so yeah. Ow, I died. It was an old 80s title, so yeah, that is to be expected. So we're nearing the end of this stage. But yeah, we're nearing the end of the stage, but there's one last big thing, and that's the boss rush. Oh boy, the boss rush. Especially this first boss. This first boss is called Slogra, and Slogra is a bitch. The thing is that his strategy is not that difficult. Crouch and whip, especially to avoid like his stuff. But the thing is, when he comes back, his hitbox is kind of like funky, and you may get hits. Like, okay, I got hit there because I got a bit close to it, but sometimes you may get hit even if when you think you are far away enough from him, and you still get hits. And this guy does a lot of damage. So like, ugh. So I shall be dying a lot. Because, yeah, compared to the future 2 bosses, yeah, Sloga is definitely the hardest one, but it's mainly because of this whip shit. I could have used the cross here, but the thing is that whenever he gets hit, he jumps back up, and I'm not a professional speedrunner, so I'm not exactly sure how to time my crosses to this. Again, I'm a casual player when it comes to Super Castlevania 4, so yeah. But yeah, I hope this is Slogra, and yeah, I mean, besides kind of like has 2 forms. Like when you get halfway through his health, you are able what am I saying? No, when you get halfway through, he does remove his weapon and starts attacking you and doing some frost attack, which is a bit of a bitch if you do not hit him quick enough. And they knew that you would get damaged a whole lot for this boss because they give you some meat afterwards for you to heal up for the next 2 bosses. I would comment on those bosses, but I'd rather wait until I beat this boss. But yeah, this boss is really a matter of whenever you hit him, move right away, otherwise you're gonna get fucked. I really need to drink. Slogra is a bitch. The funny thing is that Slogra and the next boss we're gonna fight actually do reappear in Symphony of the Night, and they're not as hard. They're like one of the first few bosses, pretty much the first major boss you fight in that game. And because Alucard is just so much more powerful, he's just like, fuck you guys. And then you find them as regular enemies later on in the game. But you're so strong by that point that it shouldn't take too long until you actually beat them. That is... Ooh. Come on, Simon, come on! Beat that, lizard? What would you call this thing? Is it like a dinosaur or a lizard? God damn it. Another instance where I should have cut it, but I didn't because I'm a dumbass. But yeah, I don't think future bosses would be as long as this one because, again, Slogra is a pain in the ass. It's probably the part in this game that I look forward to the least whenever I play it. Once you get to a good pattern, I guess you would be able to defeat him, but it's still not that easy. Especially because, again, the fucked up big hitbox. Ow. Come on, Simon. Come on. Come on, Simon. Come on. There you go. Fuck him. Hey. Next. Yeah, they give you meat here. Thank you, game. Moonwalk. Going up. Next boss is called Gaibon. He's basically a flying monster, and he's not. And you think that he would be harder, but he's actually not that hard. Just avoid his projectiles, which aren't that difficult to dodge, I'd say. As long as you're careful, it shouldn't be much of a problem. If you have the cross, yeah, you really fuck this guy. But you know, I lost my cross, so yeah. Although, I remember that in my original recording for this commentary, I got too reckless and I lost a lot of health, which made my next battle way more difficult. I mean, the next boss we're gonna fight, I still die a lot, but I like to think that I didn't die as much as that first recording, because holy shit. Holy fucking shit. Teabag! Alright, yep, like I said, Gaibon is not that hard. Moonwalking upstairs. I love moonwalking upstairs. And they do give you some meat here, which I appreciate, but not as much as after you beat Slagra, because again, Gaimon is not as hard. Death, we meet again. Death is a bit different in this game compared to like Castlevania 1. I mean, Castlevania 1 he warped all over the place and his projectiles were really annoying unless you got him down with holy water, which is why the holy water is really good in that game. But in this game, he does throw you some projectiles, but if you do the whip technically thing, you're able to deflect them without much of a problem. And after a while, he does this, and he throws his scythe onto you. But if you time your jump just right, there you go, you're able to avoid it. You can also just stay in that into the left corner and just crouch, walk to the left to avoid him. But you know, if you want to get some hits, then you might as well do the thing that I did earlier. But besides that, yeah, the death is one of those bosses that I do die a good amount towards. But it's one of those bosses you just, if you have patience and know what to do and you time your jumps just right, then it shouldn't be that hard. Compared to Slagra, death is not nearly as hard. At least that's what I figure. Woo. Ow. But yeah, after we beat death, we're pretty much in the final stretch. Again, this game is not really long, but especially if you know what you're doing. But I can imagine that, you know, just like I said earlier, kids back in the day would have a pretty difficult time with this game. But not as much as Castlevania 1, because, ooh, in Castlevania 1, I mean, whenever you game over, you restart from the stage, from the last major stage you were. But there's no password system, so if you ever wanted to like stop the game and pick it back up, you would have to replay the game from the beginning, which is not the best. I mean, I think the original Castlevania was released on the Famicom Disk System. I'm not sure if it had a save feature then, but it might have had. But of course, in its conversion to the cartridge, yeah, I lost that. But fun fact, the original Castlevania actually in Japan, after it was released on the Famicom Disk System, eventually got a cartridge release which added an easy mode, and that version is now available to play in the Castlevania Anniversary Collection, especially after the patch. And that version is I actually played Castlevania on easy mode, and it becomes a very comfortable game to just go through and just play and replay whenever I feel. I haven't replayed it in a good while, but it's a really fun game. Although one day maybe I should, you know, play Castlevania the original way. But now with death defeated, final stretch. And what? A visible staircase? Yep, the developers decided to put this in just to help you, and they know that the cross is the best weapon in the game because they give it to you with the 3 blocks, and they give you much of meat and the maximum number of hearts. I love hitting shit like that. But besides that, they would give you some hearts, and I think they would give you the cross no matter what. Here it is, Dracula, which is compared to other Draculas is not as hard. But I'd still say it's a pretty epic fight. The only problem I have with this Dracula fight is the flames that he starts summoning after a bit that I think are a bit difficult for me to defeat. But in this one, this Dracula fight can actually give you meat if you destroy certain projectiles. But besides that, yeah, he appears, you throw him. Look, that projectile, give you meat. Yeah, he's very useful, very helpful. But then he starts summoning these flames, and sometimes I get lucky and the crosses that I leave behind destroy them. Other times, not so much. Come on, Simon. Woo. Also, just be warned of where he's gonna spawn, because Dracula normally spawns where you are. So, whenever he starts spawning, get the fuck away from there. But besides that, yeah, no. The thing is that, again, praising the soundtrack again, I love this theme. It really does feel like you've reached it. It's the final showdown. Go get him, Simon. Go get him. And then, when you hit him enough, Simon's theme starts playing, and it's so awesome. I love that. But here you have to be very careful with the projectiles. Like, as soon as you are, get the fuck away. As soon as you see those lightning, get the fuck away from there. Otherwise, you're gonna get hit. I love Simon's theme. It was introduced in this game, funnily enough. And it's an awesome theme. It really is the epic theme. What an awesome way to conclude this game. It really does feel like this game wanted to cut out the bullshit, expand on some of the mechanics from previous Castlevania games, give you some of the best control in the series yet, and just make this an epic adventure. I really like that. And with that, Dracula has been defeated. For now. I mean, yeah, but still. Fuck you, pets. Fuck you. Die. This feels so cool. One last pose. To the sunlight. And with that, Super Castlevania 4 is finished. And I love this theme. It is like, yeah, you did it. You did it, Simon. Also, can you say how Simon, is back? It feels like I'm gonna see his underpants at any moment. But yeah, this was Super Castlevania 4, and it's not one of my favorite games of all time. At least, it's not in my top 5. I would need to think on like a top 10. But Super Castlevania 4, in spite of me not being the best at it, is a game that I just think is tightly designed. Like, there's barely any bullshit. It's a pure Castlevania experience from beginning to end. And it's just so fun with the amount of variety in stages, the bosses, the cross-being is so good, the soundtrack, the graphics are very good for the time, and even with its slowdown in certain instances, the game is just really fun to play. I'm not sure which one I prefer, if it's this one or Run of Blood when it comes to Castlevania action, because I will need to replay Run of Blood, and I haven't played that one in years actually. But Super Castlevania 4 is really fucking good. And even though it may get difficult, I highly recommend people check this game out. It's great from beginning to end, and you can play it in a lot of ways. I mean, if you have a Super Nintendo or Super Famicom, play it there. If you still have, you can play it on the Wii or Wii U Virtual Console, but you can no longer buy it from there because the shops for those systems have been shut down. Same thing for the new 3DS version. But now, like on the Switch, PS4, Xbox One, or PC, you can get the Anniversary Collection and play Super Castlevania 4 there, alongside 7 other games and their Japanese versions, with the exception of Castlevania 2. For some reason, the Japanese version of Castlevania 2, I've heard that Famicom Disk System games are a bit hard to emulate, so I guess that's the reason why they didn't bring over the Japanese version of Castlevania 2, but it would have been nice considering that that one has a save feature, and that game is a way bigger game than the original game. So, I mean, they did implement like a safe state feature for the Anniversary Collection, so it's not all bad. You can still play if you like. So yeah, with the Anniversary Collection, if you ever want to stop at any point, just save, just like pause the game, go into the menu and just save and leave it for another time. I'm sure, I think a friend of mine might have done that whenever he played this game. Or yeah, if you have a Super Nintendo Mini, like, play it there. You can play it there, it was put on there. Which is great choice. I actually never got one of those mini consoles. I was thinking maybe getting the Super Nintendo one, or the Mega Drive one, because they actually put some of the Mickey games on there, Castle of Illusion, World of Illusion. That's really cool. And that was actually the first time Castlevania Bloodlines ever got re-released before it got on the Anniversary Collection and then on the Nintendo Switch Online expansion pack. Which is very interesting that it took that long for Castlevania Bloodlines to be released. Actually, in general, before the Anniversary and Advanced Collections, Castlevania games rarely got re-released. The closest thing was like maybe the PlayStation Network releases, but that was really only in the United States and Japan because they ignored it. They ignored Europe for Lament of Innocence and Chronicles. And even then, they didn't bring over Curse of Darkness, the other PS2 game. The N64 games never got re-released. You'd have to play them like either on original hardware or on emulation. And yes, Super Castlevania 4. I mean, that was the only. It was only via Virtual Console that you could play some of the classic Castlevania games. On the Wii Virtual Console, I think you could play 1, 2, 3, 4, Rondo of Blood, and I think that was it. Castlevania Bloodlines, even though you could play Mega Drive games on the Wii Virtual Console, Castlevania Bloodlines was not re-released for some reason, and it's so weird. And by the way, Bloodlines was censored. Its blood got censored in the European version, and it was simply retitled Castlevania: The New Generation. Don't know why, but I'm kind of indifferent, gotta be honest. But yeah, in terms of collections, Castlevania games never really got much collections until the Anniversary and Advanced Collection. There was a 2-pack of Harmony and Dissonance and Aria of Sorrow, but that was for the GBA. That was just like two games in one. You know, those value packs. Not much more. But yeah, this game is pretty good, and with that, thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this commentary despite me going all over the place. See you next time, folks. See you next time.